Hey guys, welcome to Chris and Retro. Hope you guys are having a good weekend so far. Where ours just getting started here. Today's video is actually going to be about principles over circumstances. I was originally going to talk about inventory again, but really it's about principles over circumstances. And I had some recent examples recently that I thought would be in recent examples recently. Had some examples recently that I would like to share with you that I think might provide some context for things that I didn't really kind of put a finger on, but they're things that I have noted in my life that I do. And hopefully it's something that can help you. I'll give some suggestions on how to work through it. I'd mentioned before that I have a program I'm involved in. It's called Reaper Apparel. They've got some stuff. I was actually just got some of their stuff in here, a kit we get. So this is some of this, like one of their hats they have, Reaper Apparel Co. Shirt. It's an example, one of their shirts, like pretty cool shirts. Nice material, which I'm a big thing for me on shirts. I don't really like wearing certain kinds. And then, of course, they got their stickers and things along those lines. So they have a lot of different stuff that's out there. I'd check it out, reaperapparelco.com. Use my promo code Ambassador20. You get additional discount. Show gets credit for your participation in their programs. Now, the reason I co-sign them is not just because they've got great looking products. And obviously I've seen them now, they're quality for sure, but they've got a program they do a challenge called the BND challenge. And that program is a daily step program that gives you certain things that you walk through to help mindset, mental health. It's really targeted towards mental health, not really addiction. But if you sign up for that BND challenge, there really is some excellent thoughts in terms of how they set it up. I get the email every day. You go through there, the steps for the day, and they challenge you to do it. Now, I haven't done it on any of my social media platforms, but I will likely do that in the future. So Reaper Apparel Co., promo code MBAS20. Check it out. Let me know what you think. It supports the show every single time you order. Thank you. All right, so we're going to get into this episode tonight, or today. I keep saying tonight. I usually do these at night, but we have some good opportunity today. Me and the girls are going to go up and see Mama, and so I'm pretty excited about that. We got 2 hours with her today, so that's really good news for all of us. And we're going to get around here. I got one down for a bath, and I got to go tackle the other one here shortly. But I thought I'd get this episode on while it's still fresh in my mind. I'm going to talk about this principles versus circumstances. I was in a meeting yesterday, and I've been in several meetings. I've actually been in more meetings over the last month than I've been in years. And it's because I found the right meetings. And so that's important. So if you're seeking meetings or support groups, make sure it's a group that works with you. I mean, the principles are all the same pretty much where you go, but it's about the dynamic of how it's run, who's involved, that type of thing. And for me, I found a few things that work for me more so than they ever have. And so I'm pretty excited about that. I'm enjoying it, which is nice. It's not work for me. But in these meetings, I've been hearing a lot of, things that people are struggling. And one in particular that I go to every single day at 6:20, there's a lot of younger people in there. And in that meeting, there's a lot of, I'm saying younger in their sobriety, not really, there's a wide range. Most are probably mid 30s, late 60s even. So probably some older, some are in the 70s. But I've noticed there's a lot of conversation about circumstances, things that are going on, today's rough, or I had a reoccurrence, or, I'm kind of characterizing how people speak, this situation with an ex, or these circumstances with my, just pure addiction issues, matters that are triggered or promoted based on circumstances outside our control. These circumstances have such a massive impact in our lives, and they cause us headaches a lot. And so we tend to look towards them way too much. And what it does, it keeps us outside of our own ownership, I believe. And so one of the areas that I'll be challenged with is I can say this, I'll use a tangible example. In Sam's case, I'll spend more time trying to be her rescuer than I will trying to make sure I fortify me as a person in recovery so that I'm here as a lifeboat for her to support her as she grows in her own development. Where I tended to get sideways is I want to help her see what she needs to do to fix herself. And in that place, I'm basically taking her inventory. At the same time, I am seeing some things that need to be adjusted in her, but it's not my job to fix those things. Even if I'm 100% correct in her thinking that needs to be fixed, it's not my position to be doing that. And all that's going to do is create more resentment in our relationship. So I have to not do that. What I have to do is make sure that I'm working on me and the things I'm doing that's actually hurting the relationship. And one of those things is trying to fix her, if that all makes sense to you. Because she's perfectly capable of fixing herself. The only thing I'm doing is causing more headaches by trying to be the fixer when, she's got to go on her own journey, and she's going to come to the times of understanding that she needs to exactly when she needs to, so they have impact. My journey is a different path than hers. While we come alongside each other, it's a different path. And you might run into the same thing. Same thing with people that I'm fellow traveling with across all perspectives of my life. I can't fix them. The same time too, as we really get hung up on what people have done to us. I was reading my devotional this morning, and this idea of forgiveness was really hammered home. And the context was this: if I'm spending more time on these circumstances where people have done me wrong, and I'm not forgiving them, forgiveness is not really exoneration of them. It's kind of like unplugging the spiritual drain. If I'm sitting here with all this resentment, and every single thing that's going on in my life, I say was because of these circumstances, or even the circumstance I find myself in. If I blame, county agencies, I blame any number of things for why life is going like it is, I will never, ever get to the point that I fix me. And also, I'll never have the growth that's there for my life, because I profess in the show an awful lot that is a physical work piece and a spiritual component. This notion of forgiveness is not about letting other people off the hook. It's about genuinely getting that out of your system, cleaning that spiritual pathway so that you can now get focused on the things that really matter. And that is the work you need to do for you in your life. Nobody's going to do that work for you. At that point in time, you get to the lowest common denominator of where you caused this whole thing to start. I can think of every single problem I've had in my life has somewhere started with a choice that I've made. I got a friend of mine, Brian. He always he talked to his kids this way, and I think it's actually a useful thing. He's brought it up on shows we've done in the past on 100 Proof Living, and his idea is that when you're thinking about a decision that you've made, ask, then what? So then you play out what happened next. Then what happened next? You can do that backwards too, retrospectively. You can say, okay, well, everybody's treating me like crap. Well, then what? What got you there? And then I can say, well, all these people are constantly in my face. Well, why did they get here? I can take that all the way back to the first choice I made. And the first choice I made was to put myself in a lane where other people were looking at me differently. And that was choices with drinking. It really was a choice where I went to the thing that very much I know now is a destructor of my life. So the value in all of this stuff is to not look at the circumstances you're in. Recognize that you are in certain circumstances, but really where we grow is in the principles. So I started this whole video out with principles versus circumstances. So what I do know to be true is that I can have any variety of circumstances, and many of them may be unjust. There might be plenty of circumstances that are completely unjust. And in fact, we all know, those of us in recovery or in our early, or maybe still vacillating between recovery and addiction, active use, we know for sure people pile on the pile. So you get one thing you screw up, and it doesn't take long for everybody around you to jump in the pile and say, "Oh, there we go again." And that is so frustrating. And that's a circumstance that I definitely resonates with me and I relate to. I get how it feels like, things it's just too much. We got ourselves there. There's no argument beyond that. So now we're here. Now what? Well, those circumstances are real, they're valid, and it's important to manage them safely. And some of those things we have to go to. So one of those things is forgiveness. Remember what I just talked about, then what I just read this morning. The study is around the freedom we can have by forgiving other people, not having that be such a burden on our mind. Those resentments that we hold to that are probably valid and just, and people probably did all those things that we hold, and why we're so upset. They are probably true and may very well have contributed to our destruction. There's no argument for me on any of that. What I'm suggesting is that you can't do anything about what's happened. What you can do is to look about what's going forward. Your hope and your future and your possibilities and your promise and everything you're meant to be is forward. It's not backwards. So how do we get forward faster? Well, one of those ways is the gift to yourself and your spiritual component, and that's forgiveness. Letting things go for real. Not just saying, "Oh, I forgive you," and then still holding on to that burn. No, it's letting it go. Letting it go. I'm being a hypocrite because I don't know how to do that myself yet for certain circumstances. But I do know it to be true in the areas that I have let go. So that's one principle. The other one is to make sure that today I'm actually living intentionally and taking every opportunity I can today to not wallow in my circumstance, but do everything with my capability today to move forward, go at it, find hope, and understand that hope comes from progress some days, even though it doesn't feel great. There are so many days that hope does not feel good to me. It just means I'm never looking over my shoulder again. And there's been so much emphasized in my life recently. Looking over my shoulder is the biggest detractor to my growth ever. There's nothing back there for me. Now, it doesn't mean I get rid of the people that were back there. There's people in my life that are out back there. My kids, Sam, my parents, everybody, they're coming with me to this future day. You're all coming. So strap up. Here we go. But the circumstances surrounding a lot of things that happened back then have to stay in the past so do my attitudes and my approaches to things. And that's another principle. That's not about circumstance. It's about how do I create new environments for me that are fertile ground for growth. Saw a meme this morning that I actually printed off to give to Sam this afternoon because I thought it'd be useful for her. But I mean, there's great, I forget how it was exactly worded, but it's generally this. There's great seeds found in our rock bottom. Great seeds planted when they're at our rock bottom. And man, I couldn't agree more. When we're at rock bottom, we can either stay in this awful state. It's the one place you'll actually recognize how awful it really is. When you still think you got another few moves to make, you give yourself the option that's not as bad as you think it is, and you could still keep going. But rock bottom, or at least the place when you have that indescribable demoralization, that place where you just can't take it anymore. That place is a place where you can find growth. It's the equal and opposite. It's the other side of the pendulum that now has got to swing back. You're there, here, now swing back. Swing back to the other side. Your circumstances are valid. Many of our resentments are born out of valid things. Even our assessments of the outcome of those and the impact they had on our lives and the choices we made could be entirely truthful. And in fact, even if they're 100% accurate, that all of your life is destroyed because of the behavior and what other people have done to you, even if that's accurate, you'll never grow until you forgive those people and move forward anyway. Because all they're doing is continually immersing their destruction in your life the longer you stay there. You can go through it, over it, around it, beyond it. It's all beyond it. I don't want to minimize your pain. I certainly don't want you minimizing mine. A lot of choices I made have put me in really bad situations. A lot of choices I didn't make put me in really bad situations. Terrible boundaries. Healthy boundaries have even caused me problems before. Physical healthy boundaries, mental healthy boundaries are always a challenge for me. Lean into your spiritual component. If you find that you're spending circumstances like I've seen in these meetings where we're talking about this, that, and the other thing, and they're not talking about what's actually victory in their life or lessons they're learning related to the principles of AA or any other program that's out there, if you're not learning from the principles of things that have gone before you and you're simply just talking about your circumstances all the time, you're probably not growing and you're probably going to go back. When you're immersing yourself in the work, the principles, the measurable outcomes, the spiritual piece of massively investing in that piece of your life, you start to fill those bank vaults with something positive that has a good return. You're no longer bankrupt. Otherwise, you're just scraping bottom of the vault, trying to find the next anything to move forward. The other components actually fill your vault and make you a stronger person to eventually do what we're all supposed to be doing in the first place. And that is giving back to another person that's struggling. And that's what I'm trying to do right now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take a look at what are your conversations? Maybe that's a good diagnostic. If you're in meetings or if you're talking to other people, what's the predominant portion of your conversation? Is it about circumstances? Is it about the lessons you've learned? Is it investing in them and their circumstances? What are 90% of your conversation pieces throughout a week? I'm not preaching at you in that one. I'm actually challenging myself because as I'm sitting here making this comment that just came to my mind, I'm wondering, maybe I'm spending too much time talking circumstances, even on the show. Maybe even on the show. I'll be fine with being a hypocrite if this message that I'm supposed to be giving you gets across. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Share the channel out. Getting a little bitty growth here and there. We're just nowhere near where we need to be. I know a lot of that has to do with how I manage the search engines and everything else. I'm just not skilled in that area and haven't really dug into it. But you know, the show itself, I believe we have value. I'm getting a lot of feedback that it does. So please share it with people that are struggling. I really want to make sure that this time invested is helping plant some seeds of hope and helping other people. Comment anything that you want to comment on here. If it's inappropriate, I'll have to get rid of it. But if it's challenging or if it's your own story, please spread your message. Use my channel as a way to do that. I think it's an opportunity for all of us to come together as a community, because that's really what we are. I'm not a show host and you're not my audience. We're a community and we're just having a conversation. Thanks, guys. Between now and the next time we talk, I'm going to do every single thing I can do to stay out of trouble. And some days that's harder than others for me. And I hope you do too.